Welcome ladies and gentlemen, Iceblade here with another YouTube video. Today we're looking at what do you do when you get your new worms. So it sounds simple, but there are some things that you need to do and others that you don't. Now it doesn't matter how you got your worms, because some of them come in breathable bags, others you get in containers, some people order online, others actually go to a worm farm and collect it there, but the principle is the same. If you introduce new worms, it is actually good to start your worm farm in advance, or prepare the bedding that you're going to put the worms in advance, so that the pH basically settles in that and the environment becomes a nicer place for them to be in. So it's not wrong, it's just beneficial if you do the prep work in advance, so that when your worms come, you've done everything and you just add them to your worm farm or worm bin, whichever setup you're running. Is there a specific way you introduce them to your worm bin or worm farm? I would say no. The way I have been taught is you basically take the worms you got and you put them in the center of the bedding and you basically leave them like that. They will find their way down to where they want to be. The less you handle them, the better for the worms, because I mean they've been already transported, they've already been taken out of their old home, so if they have stress, that I suppose would be stressful. So just dump them in the middle and let them sort themselves out. They'll go where they want to go. If you get rebels and they go up the sides and they want to escape, that's actually normal, because remember, they've been in a different environment and now suddenly they're introduced into a new environment, and if your prep work was not done, they would not want to be there. They would try to find their old home actually, and then you get rebels. But if you've done it in advance, they'll go down. If it's not a happy environment for them, saying that you made it too wet, it's just supposed to be moist, it's not supposed to be wet, or it's too dry, they won't be keen to go down and start living there and doing the work they're supposed to. So get the environment you're introducing them into on par, nice place to be in. They need to be happy to make you happy, to make your plants happy, to make the environment happy. So not too wet, just a little moist, not dry, and not overfed. I mean, it don't help you introduce the worms and there is like a week's worth of food already waiting for them. So we normally introduce the worms and then later the food, or just small portions of food. They still need to find their way around before they start going into their normal daily lives. So first step we're going to do is you're going to get your worms and you're going to name every one of them, because you need to know when you're calling out to Gerald which one is Gerald, right? So sit down, have a beer, chat to your worms, get to know them, what they like, what they don't like. It's like, hey Gerald, I've heard the rumors that some people call you Geraldine. Why's that? And then you might find out that Gerald can be a Geraldine as well. That worms can be male and female and reproduce all in one. Crazy stuff. I mean, if you don't talk to your worms, you'll never find that stuff out. No, you don't have to, because they're going to be a mix. It's going to be a ball of worms. Normally when you get your worms, they would go as deep as they can and clump at the bottom. So yeah, you're going to have a ball of worms. There's going to be some rebels always, guys at the side, like, I don't mix with that group. That group, I don't like that group, so I'm sticking with this ball of worms. And others go like, no, don't like those people. But no, you'll get a ball of worms, put them in the middle, they'll sort themselves out. What I like to do is when I get new worms is just to check through the worms, see that I don't introduce other parasites, or maybe you'll get mites. Unfortunately, most worm bins do have mites, because that mites helps in the breakdown of the food scraps. So if you have excessive mites though, that can be a problem, and that's normally an indication of too much moisture in your bins or your worm farm. So just check on that. Also, when your worms go up the sides and it's like they want to suicide or they want to escape, or it's rebels escaping, also an indication of too much moisture. Or you can look at the sides of your bins, you'll see droplets of water there. Normally then the worms would go up the sides. If your bedding is perfect, if the pH is perfect, if it's just the right amount of moisture, the worms would want to be there. It is not natural for them to be going up the sides of the walls like Spider-Man. So if the bedding is good, that's where they want to be. If the food is enough and it's not excessive and they're happy, they'll be in their bedding. So if you do find that your worms go upside and suicide and go crazy, or you find them at the bottom of where the drainage container is, that also happens. Look at your moisture, and also you can put in like a fine material or something like a mesh where the worms can't go through at your bottom layer, so that they don't go through the holes that's actually draining and end up in the drainage container at the bottom. Because sometimes people forget to look at the bottom container, and you get worms drowning in your black gold. So then it gets like stinky and stuff. Check up on them, you know. Don't go fiddling in there and like, oh, where's Gerald in there, and turning up everything. They turn it up, they do their work, they don't like to be bothered. You don't have to be a slave driver with the whip and all that, like, oh, do it. No, they'll do it themselves. Just let them go. Let them be. Just check up on them. They're not suiciding. There's no problems in your bin. Don't overfeed. Check the drainage bin, and you're golden. It's not that hard. I've got my new red wheelers. They've already been all over this thing, like you can see the sides. That's actually supposed to be my worm castings. That's small poop as they went around the edges because they were not happy in this container. They didn't know where they are. This is not their home, so but it's nice and moist still. There's newspaper in there. I'll just get the cell phone and get a close-up of our new people and see if we can find Gerald in there, or Geraldine, or whatever. Okay guys, so this is the close-up of the worm's new home. It is just nice and moist. Oh, there's a baby. Oh, not a baby. So nice biggie one. Okay, so that is a night crawler though. So they do a lot of aerating down low. So it's because of the winter. It's kind of very cold where we are currently. We go down into the -5s or -6 currently. So my worms are inside. That is also a good point to remember, that worms don't do well under freezing point. They can die, and they don't do well in excessive heat. They can actually boil. So if your worms are outside and it's summer, don't keep them in direct heat. And if they're outside and it's winter, you would need to basically cover them, because remember, when they're in the wild, they can go below the freeze point in the soil by going
deeper. When they're in containers, the container is not that big, and it can basically take the cold from all four sides and basically freeze the inside soil due to the soil being moist or wet. So do take care of that, like wrap a blanket around it. Like I said, my worms are inside. I keep them close to the dustbin in the kitchen, so if there's food scraps, I can separate dustbin, or the other ones I snipper up for the worms. So I already, that one is so cold, it seems. He's so silent. But I already did some snippering, so the new worms will already have some, and the old worms will also get a feed now. So let's just get the new worms. I'm just going to get this buddy out of the way. I don't want to squish him. He's so lazy. That's how lazy. Okay. So this is the new babies. Now they all would go down basically because of the cold. Now there's a nice one. Our red wigglers. Okay, so you can see the red wigglers. They have a deep red color, normally like these ones don't have, but you get ones with the more yellowish or lighter tail. This is a dark red one. There you can see the difference in color at the bottom and below, but that is a nice and healthy red wiggler. So they're very active, they're very good composters, but they like the top part of the soil, and the night crawlers, like I showed you, they actually do the bottom part, so that guy can go in. So basically what I said is you can name your worms if you want to. Nah, just kidding. But I mean, you can just go through this. You should not be... there's a bunch of them. So that is some good red wigglers. There is the tail parts I said. Oh, there's actually... just saw an egg there for a few seconds. I will see if I do the edit, if I can find it. I don't want to squish them now. Those are healthy ones. Those are the red wigglers. These are composting pros. So they're looking very lively. I can feel they're extremely cold. So going to put them in their new home now. I'm just doing this as an illustration of what you can do. Just check through your worm, see that there's not weird bugs, or like I know in America they have those soldier fly larvae and stuff. Just check for that and get them out. The rest, if you're getting it from a good and trusty source, normally they would come in cocoa peat, because the ones that do shipping, or if you order your worms online, they would normally pack them in a sort of dryish cocoa peat, because that the worms do well in. So basically what you do, if you're satisfied with the matter or the bedding they came in, just dump that in the middle on top of your bedding that you created for these worms, and they will find their way on their own time to where they want to go. Don't want to squish anyone's. There are some on my fingers now. So let me just get these babies back inside. I don't want to touch anything and then squish my... There's Gerald. Hi Gerald, how you doing, bro? Okay, so but let me go just quickly put them in here, and then we get back to the camera. Okay, there we go, guys. So I dumped them in here. Still some of them at the top, but they will do their way back down. Basically take like 30 minutes or so. They all tend to go downwards eventually. They all look very healthy though. But I mean, they've only been in that container for one day. I went to fetch them actually from their mummy. And now, yeah, I'm their new guardian, and we're going to do some awesome stuff together. Going to have a beer with them quickly and just chat over the past and, you know, what they see in their future and all that stuff. So wormies look very good. I'm just going to leave them so they find their way into their new home, and then there's a lot of newspaper in here, so if they do make it to the bottom, I'm just going to sort out these newspapers. They're quite handy. I'm just going to lay them over the top of mine and then feed them and then put on the cardboard so that they covered, and then don't disturb them. So
if we can get them in there, and maybe we'll get like a worm egg, I can show you that as well. And probably have some mites in there as well, if I can get them on camera as well. They're quite shy, you know, they don't like the paparazzi, but just show you what you're going to deal with. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you haven't yet, you better hit that subscribe. We need to get our videos seen in the searches and the pages and whatever. Hit like if you found this helpful. If you got anything, drop it down in the comments below if you have any help. Also, always good to learn. My grandfather said, if you stop learning, you could basically just start dying, because you need to learn every day. So, if you have any advice, any stuff you need to share and share with other people starting out this hobby, in the comments, please, and we can get chatting there. Thanks for watching, guys.